Hi, Becca C. Smith here, and today I'm going to talk about how writing can turn negatives in your life into positives. Now, it's hard to imagine something really horrible or embarrassing happening to you and turning that into something positive, but honestly, it's what gives my characters and books that sense of realism. Like a lot of people, I had a really hard time in grade school and high school growing up. I was just weird. I'm still weird. And unfortunately, weird makes people feel uncomfortable. And the thing about kids is when they feel uncomfortable, they don't really know what to do about it, so they kind of act out. And I think that's why a lot of bullying happens. It's just, sometimes it's just mean, and sometimes it's genuinely from a place of the kid doesn't know how to react, so they just, you make me feel uncomfortable, so you suck. It was really hard dealing with that as a child and even through high school, and it's a lot better as an adult, but it still happens, especially when I'm really nervous in a party situation or a business meeting type situation. I just get so introverted and scared that I just make people feel uncomfortable. I've definitely been working on it. It is something I still work on, but I know it's still an issue for me. And sometimes my awkwardness can just be humiliating. I have so many embarrassing stories. I mean, my face gets red just thinking about them. As I'm sure a lot of you experience, when you have an active imagination, it's great for writing stories and coming up with awesome ideas, but it really sucks because it allows you to feel every single ounce of embarrassment or humiliation or whatever you went through as if it was happening in the present moment. So I'm going to humiliate myself. I'm going to tell you a couple stories. Like when I first moved to Los Angeles and I got my first PA job. It's a production assistant on a film. And I was so excited, totally freaking out, but I got there and then they needed me to do a quick run and the director was like, here, take my car. And I'm like, great. And this is before GPS and cell phones, so I'm directionless. I literally have no sense of direction. They told me where to go, but I didn't hear that, and I went 50 miles in the wrong direction. 50. I was in Long Beach by the time I figured it out. And when I got back to the set, because it was supposed to be a 5-minute run, they were about to call the police because they thought I had stolen the director's car. So yeah, fired on my first day. It's cool. I have been fired 4 times as a production assistant. Let's just say I should never be a production assistant. I learned this early. So I ended up working at a video store. Some of you might not even know what that is. That was when you used to rent VHS videotapes. And our particular store had a adult section, let's say. It was like its own room unto itself with saloon doors. And one time, this very nice couple comes up with their kids, and I noticed they have some late charges, and it's normal to say, oh, you guys have some late charges, and the wife is very confused. She's all like, late charges? We haven't rented in a month. She's like, what are the late charges? I'm like, oh, and I looked down at the computer, Forest Hump and Clockwork Orgy, and the guy's face is red, and I'm all like, oh my god. I'm like, and then I'm panicked, so I'm like, they're adult films, and then she's just like looks at him and the kids, and I'm like, you know what, I'm just gonna grace these tapes for you. Don't even worry about it. You don't have to pay the late charges. Okay, have a good day, bye. Or when I went to a James Cameron film festival, and I watched 3 particular movies, and my friend was like, how come you came to see The Abyss and the first Terminator and Aliens? And I was like, duh. Now, just so you know, I never talk like this. I don't talk like this in private. I don't talk like this in public. But for some reason, I was feeling like bold that night, and I said, well, duh, because Michael Bihn's in it, and he's freaking hot, and la 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 la, went on and on about how every part of him is perfect. Okay, yeah. And then the guy in front of me turns around, and guess who it is? He says to me, it's Michael Biehn. Michael Biehn says to me, it's Michael Biehn. And then he goes, and thanks. Oh my god. I think my face is red right now. I literally said all those things, and he was sitting right in front of me. And he was so cool and so nice about it, but I really wanted to crawl under that chair and leave. I can't even believe I actually stayed to watch the whole thing. At that point, I thought that he would get offended if I left because I'd said all those things, and just, okay, moving on. Or like the guy I really liked, and I went out of town, and I ended up getting a signed copy of his favorite book. And I was thinking, okay, I'm getting brownie points. This is good. I'm going to be like, oh, here, and I got this sign for you. It just happened to be a signing where I was. And so he called. He was home. He's like, well, come on over. I'm like, okay. So I bring the book, and I'm just like, we lived at apartment complexes very close to each other. So I was like, I'm not even going to wear my shoes. So I ran barefoot over there. I get to his house. I'm so excited to give him the book. And then we're like, what's that smell? Well, I, with my bare feet, had stepped in dog crap and basically had brought it all in perfect footprints into his apartment. Yay, I got you a signed book. And then there are some mean stories I can tell you about how I was bullied or humiliated, but I'm not going to get into those, but they are important because the bottom line is, whether it's embarrassing or traumatic, it's useful as a writer. I can use every single one of those stories, maybe not in perfect detail, but the feeling and emotion behind it from the perspective of someone that actually went through it. I can write about being bullied because I know firsthand what it felt like to be bullied. I can tell the reader every painful detail, from my emotional state to the surroundings around me. I can write an over-the-top embarrassing moment because I've had so many of them. So many. And so many people can relate to it because they went through something similar. So when they read that part of my book, they can connect to it in a way that maybe they might not have if I had just made it up. It really is hard to see something so negative and just so embarrassing and just and think of it as a positive, but when you're a writer, that is good stuff. That stuff should go in. Seriously, it's like, it's really hard when you're in the moment. I totally get it, but it can be therapeutic too. If you're going through a situation where you're being bullied, or you just had the most embarrassing moment of your life with a guy you like or a girl you like or whatever, use it. Use it, write it down. That is gold. Those experiences make you who you are, and they ultimately make you a better person. They made me a better person. Although I could have done, like, left out some of them, but honestly, I wouldn't take any of it back because I have squeezed every bit of emotion out of those moments and put them in my stories. Okay, so I spilled, so it's your turn. So let me know in the comments if you are up to it, any embarrassing stories you may have to tell. Maybe put it in your story or your book or your screenplay or whatever you're writing. And thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!